Is there more? Why, we haven't even hardly started. It gets better.
It does. What happens?
I guess I'll just have to read the next chapter. Over many years, the land of Urupe became very strong and wealthy, all because of the Otetope. Unfortunately, when you have great wealth, there's always someone who wants to take it away from you. Far away, over a mighty ocean, there was another land called Spain, where there were some men called conquistadors. These men thought that it was okay to do just about anything to get as much gold as they could find, no matter who it belonged to. They no sooner heard about the great wealth of Urupe that they started scheming how to get their hands on it. So the Spanish conquistadors headed out on big ships with lots of weapons and soldiers, and they invaded the land of Urupe. Once they had taken over the land, they started to look for the gold that they had heard about, but they could only find small amounts here and there, which was not enough for them. They did a lot of very mean and terrible things to the people, trying to get them to tell where the gold was, but they would not tell. At last, they decided to burn all of the crops in the fields and take away the livestock so that people would starve. Perhaps then someone would give them the information they wanted. But time went by, and people not only still refused to tell them anything, they did not seem to be starving. The boss of the conquistadors was an evil guy named Pizarro. He was not used to things not going his way. One day, he called in his number one guy named Jose and said to him, "Jose, I gave you a job to do, and that was to starve these people to death. You have not done it." Well, Jose told him that his men had taken away all of the food from the people, but they were very stubborn and no one was dying. So Pizarro said, "I don't want to hear your excuses. You will find out why the people are not dying, and if you don't, you will be the one dying." So Jose disguised himself and headed out into the streets to see if the people were finding something to eat that he and his men did not know about.
I know. The people were digging up potatoes out of the ground when nobody was looking.
You're a smart kid, Jeremy. I think you may have figured it out. The Spanish did not know about potatoes. They didn't know that even though you burn up the plants, the potatoes are still down under the ground. Genius. One day, Jose was hiding around a corner when a man with a donkey came by. As the donkey passed, something round and round dropped into the road behind him. Immediately, a couple of children ran into the street, grabbed the thing, and began to eat it. Jose couldn't believe his eyes. It was just time for him to go and deliver his report to Pizarro. "Your lordship," Jose said, "I have completed the task you gave to me, and I, Jose, have discovered the secret. The people of Peru are thriving on a diet of donkey dung."
They thought they were eating donkey poo?
Yeah, well, that was the only thing he'd ever seen drop from the back end of a donkey back home. Unfortunately for Jose, this was not his lucky day. Pizarro was not so easily convinced, and after he heard the full story, he gave Jose the task of doing research. It became his job to pick up everything he could find in the street and test it to see how nutritious it was on himself. And to help him with this, he would not be given any other food. Jose was not allowed to eat anything but what he found in the street. He tried to eat rocks, clumps of dirt, and yes, even donkey dung. Poor Jose was starting to find out that starvation is not a pleasant process. Then one day, he overheard some of the villagers talking and heard someone whisper the word, "Otetope." Jose did not know what this word meant, so he called in the interpreter. "Well," said the interpreter, "let me think. The word tope means food, but the word ote means stone or rock. I really cannot understand exactly how a rock can be food, or food come from a stone. Are you sure you heard the word correctly? Maybe the word you heard was potato, which is rock salt." Well, Jose wasn't really sure, so he tried to see if he could survive by eating nothing but salt. Sad to say, it did not go well for Jose, because even though eating a small amount of salt is okay, you can't survive on a diet of salt. Jose's men buried his skinny, toothless body in a potato field outside of town, never realizing that the answer to his question lay all around him, and now above him.
Gee, I feel a little bit sorry for him.
Yep, he should definitely have stayed home in Spain. That's what happens when people get greedy.
So what happened to Pizarro, Grandpa?
Well, let me see what the book says. Pizarro continued to search for treasure and continued to mistreat the people of Peru for many years until at last he found what he was looking for. He and his men took away many tons of gold, but then the inevitable happened. Someone else wanted the treasure, and Pizarro himself was murdered. Over the years, many Spanish people settled in Peru and eventually learned about the potato peg, what they and we now call a potato.
I think that if Pizarro had just come for the potatoes and let the gold alone, he would have been a lot happier.
You're a smart boy, Jeremy. Good night, bud.
You said that ordinary, everyday things have exciting stories too. It made me wonder, why does sugar taste different than salt? Or who was it first that had an idea to drink milk from a cow?
Well, I don't think I have the answer to those questions, Jeremy. Maybe we'll find another book.
You may finish the potato book?
No, actually, there's one more chapter left that tells how the people in the rest of the world didn't want to eat potatoes.
They didn't. Why not?
Well, let's see what the book tells us. Once European travelers to Peru got to know about the potato, they started to bring bags of them home to share with their families and friends. They thought that they had found something great that was easy to grow and tasty to eat. But what they didn't count on was that when potatoes are kept for too long, like on a ship voyage, they begin to rot. And there's nothing on this earth that smells as bad as a rotten potato. People didn't know that when potatoes turn green from being left out in the light, they shouldn't be eaten because it can make you very sick. Soon, word got around that potatoes were not fit for humans to eat. Also, the people who studied plants had noticed that the potato plant looked a lot like deadly nightshade, a well-known poisonous plant. So everyone was actually afraid to eat them. Add this to the fact that potatoes just did not look very appetizing. Dirty brown knobby things dug up out of the ground. And they didn't smell like much, and raw potatoes didn't have much of a flavor at all. The few farmers who did grow them ended up feeding them to their animals. No one was willing to eat food that was being used for farm animals, so the poor old potato had a bad reputation.
But didn't they know about mashed potatoes or french fries? Everybody likes them.
Well, I guess not. Nobody had really tried to make anything good with them, which was really too bad because there were a lot of very hungry people in Europe at the time. In fact, people were starving.
The people were starving and they refused to eat potatoes?
Jeremy, when you grow up, you'll learn, find out that people can be very stubborn. Once they get an idea in their mind, it can be very hard to get them to think they might be wrong.
I'm always being told I'm wrong.
You don't like it very much, do you?
No, but I wouldn't be willing to starve rather than to admit it.
Well, that's because you're a smart kid. Being wrong is a good thing, Jeremy, because that's how we learn. Never be afraid to be wrong. Teaching homes. Now, where were we here? Oh, yes. So the superstitious people in Europe did not want to eat potatoes. Luckily, there were some people who had been educated and were not superstitious. These people soon realized that potatoes could be a great solution to the food shortages they were having. If only they could talk people into giving them a chance. Many of the governments of European countries tried to encourage people to grow meat. It was a hard sell. In fact, when Frederick the Great of Prussia ordered his people to grow them, they refused, saying that not even their dogs would eat potatoes. But Frederick did not give up. He was a shrewd man and decided to use reverse psychology on his people.
What's reverse psychology?
Let me see, how can I explain? Oh yeah, remember the day when Grandma made that salmon roll for supper?
Yeah, I wish you made that again.
When you first saw it, what did you think?
Well, I don't think I wanted to try it.
That's right, you didn't want to eat it. But Grandma said that's okay, because she only made it for the grown-ups to eat, and it wasn't really for little kids.
Yeah, and I told her I really wasn't a little kid anymore, so she gave me some anyways.
Jeremy, I'm going to tell you a secret, but don't tell Grandma I told you, okay?
Okay.
Grandma really just said that because she wanted you to eat it. She knew that if she tried to make you eat it, you wouldn't like that. So she found a roundabout way to make you want to eat it.
You mean Grandma tricked me?
I guess you could say she did, not in a bad way.
Wow, I didn't know Grandma was so tricky.
Well, Jeremy, I think you inherited your grandma's brains. She's a pretty smart lady.
Well, I'm going to have to watch her more carefully after this. So let's get back to Frederick and how he tried to trick people into eating potatoes. That's what he did, right?
He sure did. Frederick had one of his royal fields planted with potatoes, and he gave strict orders that they were only for him and his household. Then he stationed heavily armed guards around the field.
But I thought he wanted the people to have them.
Exactly. Frederick knew that the potato peasants would think that anything worth guarding so carefully must also be worth stealing. Sure enough, it didn't take long, and the people snuck into the field and dug up some of the plants for their home gardens.
They didn't want them when the king wanted them, when the king forbid it, but when...
Take your time. All you need, all right.
They wouldn't eat them when the king wanted them to, or when he forbid to, but when he forbid it, that's when they wanted them.
Does that sound familiar, Jeremy? Because sometimes young boys act like that too.
Who would you be talking about?
I think we both know. So once people started not being afraid to eat potatoes anymore, they found out how delicious they can be. They tried them in all kinds of different recipes. They boiled them, and they baked them, and they fried them, and they put them in stews and topped meat pies with them. Soon, the potato became one of the favorite food items in the whole world. Not only were people no longer starving, but because potatoes are so nutritious, they started to be healthier and live longer. And that's the story of the potato. Now it's time for you to go to sleep, my man.
Can't you just